Hello and welcome. With the job breakdowns done, I figured I would rank the Stormblood versions of the jobs. There will be a video for this after Shadowbringers is out, and I've had some time to level all of them and play around with all of them. The Shadowbringers versions. But for Stormblood, let's take a look at the individual jobs, where they stand, what they've got. I think without question, I would say that Astrologian has to either be A or S tier. Astrologian is probably the best healer in Stormblood. Maybe White Mage be right up there with it, but when it comes to options, Astrologian can do anything. It can do Scholar, it can do White Mage, basically, with shields or regens. It has the cards. We're going to put Astrologian in S tier, because it has the cards that are completely unique utility compared to the other two healers. It has so many options in the form of the time dilation and things like that, all of which is changing going into Shadowbringers, so it'll be different next time. But in Stormblood, at least, Astrologian was very powerful, and I think really set itself apart from the others to a point where it was very surprising when you got into a raid and there was not an Astrologian in the party. Honestly, same for Bard. Bard is just so good in Stormblood. Foe's Wreck is being taken away going into Shadowbringers, so we'll see where it lands there. I know it's got a lot of cool new toys coming as well. But Foe's Wreck's really powerful. The different buffs that it can give are really nice. The different songs, being able to troubadour those songs, it's really powerful in Stormblood, and it's been a lot of fun to play throughout the life of Stormblood. It was not my main, but I really enjoyed Bard, and I think it's really powerful. And again, this list is not just my personal favorites of where the jobs would go. If it was, Dragoon would be at the top. Dragoon's not going to be at the top. I just have to say that here. I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah, this is trying to look at the jobs based on what we talked about with the job breakdowns. Jobs that are basically required, right? And where they stand compared to everything else. But Black Mage. Black Mage is really good. I would put Black Mage in an A. Black Mage is really powerful. Black Mage does a ton of damage. Mana Shift, again, going away in Shadowbringers, but still exists for the sake of the argument for Stormblood. Mana Shift is really powerful, and the fact that Black Mage can just be a mana battery for anybody just to shift MP to them is really good. A Pocket of Stasis is really nice. It doesn't have a race, but what it brings to the table in forms of utility when it comes to being able to give healers more MP. Yes, the other jobs can do that too, but Black Mage is the only one that has infinite MP. So I think it's really good. The only thing keeping it from an S, I would say, is how reliant it is on knowledge of the fight. If you don't know a fight, you're not going to be doing optimal DPS as a Black Mage, because you're not going to know when you can put down your ley lines. You're not going to know when it's safe. You're not going to know, you know, where to go to be able to avoid the mechanics and things like that. But once you know a fight, Black Mage is top tier. Dark Knight. I don't think anybody's gonna like where I put Dark Knight on this list. I'm gonna put Dark Knight in C tier. Dark Knight's not bad. It's doable, right? But when I look at it objectively, Dark Knight is so reliant on MP. We talked about it during the Dark Knight job breakdown. It's so reliant on MP. You're constantly having to regain MP. If you're main tanking, you can't use Blood Weapon. You can use Blood Price to begin to get back that way. But then you get into off tank, and it's so much tied to MP and Stormblood with Dark Arts and trying to spam Dark Arts with your best abilities, trying to line everything up so that you have enough MP to be able to Dark Arts that Quietus. It's tough for Dark Knights to compare with things like Warrior when it comes to tanks. In Stormblood, in Shadowbringers, things may be different. And I have seen some amazing Dark Knights that overcome all those difficulties and just go for it, right? And just do a great job. But if I look at it objectively, Dark Knight itself in Stormblood was not as strong as the other two by a good, decent margin. So it's gonna go in the C tier. I still don't think it's bottom tier. I like I said, still very usable. I have played level 70 Dark Knight in quite a few instances, but just not as good as Warrior, unfortunately. After that's Dragoon. Dragoon's gonna be our first B. So Dragoon brings Battle Litany to the table, right? Battle Litany's amazing. So why is Dragoon a B and not an S? Blood for Blood. So there's this thing about Blood for Blood that people forget often, and especially I main Dragoon. Dragoons forget often because we want to do more damage. It's that in Stormblood at least, it's changing in Shadowbringers, but in Stormblood at least, you take more damage. So Dragoons die a lot. We make jokes about it, right? Between taking more damage and animation lock with jumps. Dragoons get stuck in AoEs that they weren't planning on getting stuck in, or they take extra damage from a hit that they weren't expecting to take. And Dragoons die a lot. The difference between a good Dragoon and a bad Dragoon is managing Blood for Blood well and keeping their own life up. And there are so many options that Dragoon has to be able to lifesteal that Dragoons should not normally be super low health. But Dragoons are low health a lot, unfortunately. And yeah, you'll have your great Dragoons that are just like top tier, never have any problems with it. They're hitting all their positionals. They're, managing Blood for Blood and Life of the Dragon really well. Blood of the Dragon's managed perfectly. It's tough for Dragoons in Stormblood. Not just with Blood for Blood, but also it's better now than it was. I would have put them in C if it had been the way at the start of the expansion. Because at the start of Stormblood at level 70, if a Dragoon died, you basically had to restart the entire fight for the Dragoon. Like, for that Dragoon playing, it was as if the fight had just started again. Because they had to start the rotation from go again. They had lost everything they'd built up, and it took forever to build up Life of the Dragon, or Blood of the Dragon, to build up that gauge to be able to Life of the Dragon. And now it's better. It's still not perfect, but it's definitely better. Dragoon's just in a really weird place where I think it's really cool in Stormblood. I think they fixed a lot of the problems that it had early Stormblood, but with Blood for Blood and jump animations, man, it's tough to put Dragoon up there. Again, Battle Litany's really solid. Dragoon does a lot of damage. It doesn't really have a burst window as much as it is consistent damage, and then Nastrons weaved in. But I feel like with how often Dragoons die, we have to put them in a B, man. And I main Dragoon. Let me know in the comments down below if you firmly disagree with that, but I can't put them any higher than that, in my opinion. Following that is Machinist. Machinist is our first D tier. Yeah, Machinist is rough in Stormblood. Machinist is built around that wildfire window, but the heat gauge doesn't feel like it's really made to go with the wildfire window. And again, all of this is changing in Shadowbringers. But Machinist kit feels like it's fighting against itself in some ways, where it feels like you want to make use of your flamethrower and you want to do your cool stuff, so you need to be above 50 heat, but you don't want to hit 100 heat, or you're going to lose that, because you can't lose that and overheat until Wildfire's up. But once Wildfire's up, you gotta overheat, so overheat right away. It feels weird having to constantly balance that just around one ability, and it feels clunky in a lot of ways. I'm glad they're fixing it. I think it has to be a D tier. I'm gonna put Monk in C tier as well. I think in Stormblood, Monk is a lot of fun to play, but I don't think the riddles work very well in the way that they're implemented with the way that I like to play the class and the way that it seems like most people like to play the class. Riddle of Earth is great if you want to switch to Fist of Earth, and then you can use Riddle of Fire to switch back into Fist of Fire, right? But Fist of Fire also slows you down, whereas Monk feels like it's about building up speed, I think Monk still does really solid damage, and I think that it's a really fun class to play. Like I said, I've got them all at 70. I really like playing Monk, but Stormblood Monk just felt a little odd to me with that slowdown. It just didn't feel right. And maybe going into Shadowbringers, the 6-sided star stuff will be the same way. We'll see. But I think Monk is still really nice. It doesn't really have any utility to the party other than like Brotherhood and Mantra. But, hey, it's still not a terrible job. C tier is not bad, Even D tier is not. That's why there's no trash tier in this. Because even D tier is not bad. D tier can still be done. Any job in the game can be used in high-end content, But I like Monk. I just wish I could put it higher. Ninja for sure, S tier. Trick Attack, man. Trick Attack is so universally good for everyone. Even if, like, because we're losing all of the immunity and aggro tools that Ninja had, even if it didn't have those, which it won't soon, Ninja's still an S tier for how good Trick Attack is. 10% for everybody. The boss just takes more damage for 10 seconds for everybody. It's so good, and it comes up so quickly. Ninja's whole kit, we talked about Machinist with Wildfire. Ninja's whole kit works around Trick Attack, where no matter what you're doing, you're getting that extra damage. You're getting that extra damage, and you're doing some cool stuff. Not to mention the fact that Ninja has some really good AoE potential. It has some dots. It has Hyotan to make it go faster and doesn't have the slowdown that Monk has. I think Ninja is easily an S tier job. Paladin. I'm gonna put Paladin in A. Paladin is not as good as Warrior. It just comes down to that every time. Paladin's a great off tank. Paladin has some really good dots. Paladin has the ability to cover. It has intervention. It has Divine Veil. Paladin has some great raid support. It has some really solid utility. It doesn't do a lot of damage on its own with just regular attacks, but when you add in those dots, you can get some really good stuff going. Paladin's real advantage is being able to say, oh, main tank's taking a lot of damage. Main tank's about to go into his Fell Cleave phase. Let me pop an intervention on him. Let me pop a cover on him. Let me take some of this damage for a little while so that he can focus on DPSing. And that's where Paladin really shines. I think Paladin's a good main tank still, don't get me wrong. Paladin has a ton of options to be able to mitigate damage. But I think as it is, it's really more of an off tank, which is why it's going to go into A. I do love playing Paladin. Paladin's my tank of choice. Red Mage! I'm going to give Red Mage an A too. Red Mage is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Does less damage than some of the other casters. However, what Red Mage brings to the table, post level 64 anyway, is raises, heals, it has mobility, it has... Basically, it's the support caster DPS. Anything you need, Red Mage can do for the most part. It can heal for you, it can raise for you, it can hurt for you. Red Mage is really solid. And again, if it did a little bit more damage, maybe it'd be an S tier. But as it is, I think it's still really useful. And it's always a benefit to a party when you have a Red Mage in there. I think when the party knows the fight really well and people aren't dying all the time, Red Mage's effectiveness is kind of limited. But even then, still having that pocket heal and that pocket res is not a bad thing at all. From there, we have Sam. I'm going to put Sam in B as well. Samurai's really good. It does a ton of damage. The reason it's in B tier is because it has no utility whatsoever. And that's okay. It doesn't have to, right? I just think that from a tier, like from a ranking list, it can't be higher than that because it doesn't have it. What it brings instead is better damage than everyone else. And that's great. It has a dot. It has Midari Setsugeka. Samurai's a lot of fun. It's really good. It just doesn't really bring anything to the table to help everybody else, you know? And so, again, any of these jobs, you can play them really well. I don't ever get upset when I see a samurai. I don't even get upset when I see a machinist in my party. Like, why would I, you know? We're going to do just fine. All these classes are good. But I think samurai for sure is about mid-range of like, hey, it does really solid damage. It's about all it does, but it does really solid, consistent damage. Every once in a while, it just spikes and does a big crit, too, which is really good. I think I'm going to put Scholar in B as well. Scholar's really solid. It doesn't have a lot of options to directly heal in Stormblood. It has Lustrate and Sacred Soil, both of which are really good. But those are tied to Ether Flow. And everything else is, for the most part, shields. Which is fine. I mean, Scholar does a great job. Do not take this as me saying Scholar's bad. This is not a you should only play the jobs that are in S tier. I just think that Scholar falls a little bit behind the other two healers when it comes to healing. DPS-wise, Scholar's even better than the rest, with all kinds of dots in Stormblood, with Eos and Selene to be able to back you up. Scholar's really fun to play. Scholar for a long time was my healer of choice. I just think that when it comes to raw healing, it kind of falters, which Shadowbringer seems to be changing, so that's really cool. Summoner! think Summoner's gonna go in either A or B. This is the only one I'm really torn on as to where it's gonna go. Because I think Summoner's really good at its job. I think Summoner does a really good job with damage. It has support. It has a bunch of different options, really, between it. Now that a Pocket of Stasis, which is going away, was a crossroll, it has the ability to give that. It has raises. It has very close to a mana battery in the form of Ether Flow to be able to back the party up. It has very good damage. If something happens to the tank, I've never seen this happen in high-end content, but theoretically, you bring out Titan, he'd die really quickly. And that's really the big issue I have with Summoner and Stormblood, is that the summons, other than Dimmy Bahamut, were kind of weak compared to before, because as health numbers and damage numbers goes up, the summons didn't really get any better, you know? Titan died so quickly in so many situations in solo play post 60, but I do still think Summoner's really solid. I think we're going to put Summoner in B. I think Summoner's a lot of fun to play, and I'm very much looking forward to Phoenix. Warrior's S tier, easily. Warrior is the tank that can heal itself. I know Paladin has Clemency as well, but Warrior heals itself as part of its damage combo. Warrior has multiple other abilities to be able to heal itself. At the start of Stormblood, Warrior probably would have been an A instead of an S because of the problems with the way Shake It Off was implemented and things like that. But it has improved so much since then. Warrior is still top of the pack. Warrior can tank in its non-tank stance in Deliverance and still be able to hold aggro with all the spell cleaves. It's insane. Warrior's just really good, man. I'm looking forward to Shadowbringers and hopefully seeing the other tanks come up to catch up to Warrior. But Warrior's really good. And then finally, White Mage, I'm going to put in A. White Mage, when it comes to raw healing, is like unstoppable. White Mage has Thin Air to be able to give itself free MP. It has a size to heal and damage and restore MP. It's White Mage, if you're running out of MP on a White Mage, you are not using your tools correctly. Or you're having to raise a bunch of. But regardless, when it comes to healing, White Mage is unstoppable. Damage-wise, not so much. Holy's really cool, and definitely is nice. The ability to stun most mobs is really cool. But other than that, it kind of just throws rocks, you know? And it doesn't really have that utility that Astrologian has with the cards. However, I still think White Mage is really good. Regions are really nice. Being able to throw out a Medica too, and then Holy Spam for a little while. Being able to size, and then start throwing some rocks or arrow. White Mage is still really solid. It's my healer of choice. And I really like it. I just wish that it had maybe a couple more things of utility that can do. Presence of Mind really isn't that much when it boils down to it. So now let's rank them inside their tiers. I'm going to say... I think Ninja might be the best job in the game. I think it might because of Trick Attack. It has a really good selection of crossroad skills because it's a melee DPS. No, Ninja's good, but Warrior's the best job in. Let's be honest. Ninja's really solid, but Warrior's the best in. And then probably after that would be Astrologian Bard. For the A ranks, I would probably go White Mage, Paladin. White Mage, Paladin, Black Mage, Red Mage. Then for B, it'd probably go Scholar, Sam, Dragoon, Summon. Then for C, this is fine, and then D, that's fine. Let me know what you thought about the jobs in the comment section down below. I'm sure everybody has an opinion. By all means, make your own tier of it and send it to me. Let me know what you think. Maybe you think that S tier is too full. Maybe I should have done a triple S tier and just put Warrior up there. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know if I'm valuing a job's utility too much. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum. Final Fantasy XIV has to offer.